And why I am telling is the first priority, because to play Champions League is after Premier League is the best. To play Champions League is the best. Is the best. You can play in England, in Premier League, you can play against the best team in the world. You can play, and it's very difficult. And when you are playing in Champions League, you are playing against the best team, I think, at the same time in another countries. And it's amazing. And we are, of course, always responsible about the history here. And we know the history in Aston Villa is so long and so successful history. But even in Champions League, before it was Euro Cup, we knew before our responsibility was try to increase our level, try to be demanding and to dream to get it. And of course now to win the Champions League like Aston Villa did in 82. Yes, but if we are there, we are in. It's more easy than if we are not. and it's another dream. And the most important is have dreams and try to work hard to go through it. And of course, I am very, very, very happy, really very happy, very proud of you, very proud of the player, very proud of everybody. And enjoy, and I want to enjoy more and more. And next year, now the challenge starts for us. The new challenge starts for us is to build again strong, to go increasing always our level. And this is our objective. And of course, always is trying to enjoy with you, with the supporter. You are the heart of the club. And thank you very much. Okay. Of the Villa! Of the Villa!
Hello and welcome to the Villa Talks podcast. Welcome to the Champions League level Aston Villa podcast. Yes, there it is. Soak it in. This is the full version, by the way, so it's a good 2 minutes.
The original.
The original. I might just leave it in the background.
Yeah,
play.
Not the radio cut.
Not the radio cut. It's not the radio edit. No,
we want the full version.
12-inch version.
Full Ridley Scott version. Director Scott.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Feels good, doesn't it?
Should we just do this for an hour?
Yeah.
Just on repeat.
We should be waving a piece of fabric around a centre circle, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Controversial opinion. I prefer the Conference League music.
The Conference League one is a banger, to be fair.
You stay there. You go, mate. You can go back, mate, if you want.
No, I don't prefer. No, I'm not saying I want to be in the competition. I'm just saying.
You could be a Chelsea fan if you want.
Switch the songs.
Conference League music is very much the kind of indie alternative nightclub to the Champions League, which is one of the big Oceania kind of clubs.
Yeah. Which is exactly my vibe.
I'll let it simmer in the background.
Yeah.
It's there in the background. Boys, how does it feel? How does it feel to be top four? Legit top four.
Been top four all season, mate. But yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Legit. Like it's done.
Yeah, I was a bit emotional with Unai's speech. God, he's a great man, isn't he? Isn't he amazing?
Not much I wouldn't do for him.
And it's also like he's obviously such a phenomenal manager, but he's just such a great guy, isn't he? Like he's just like you look at the other top managers, pretty much all of them are arseholes in one way or another. And Unai is just. Even my mum said earlier, "Oh, he's such a gentleman, isn't he?" And I was like, "Yeah, he is. That's exactly what he is. He's a lovely, lovely man." And I'm really proud to have him in charge of our team. Like, regardless of our achievement and stuff, like just having, and we sort of said, I remember when Dino left, and we were all very sad about, because of him being a Villa fan, and especially with Jack having left and all of that. And we're like, are we ever going to have this sort of emotional connection with our club again? And then, this morning watching Unai give that speech, some pretty powerful emotions. And I'm a man who's generally dead inside, so to move me, you've got to work pretty hard. But they've done it. So proud of Unai and the boys.
What was that you said before, Carl? Before we joined the pod, that what did you nearly do last night to the Champions League music?
Oh yeah, mate. What was that one?
What did you say?
Nearly had a cry, is what I said, wasn't it?
A cry, was it? Yeah. Yeah.
No, let's move on. So, Unai, did you notice that he finally used, not an excuse, but just used the word we've had a lot of injuries and started talking about it? Once we'd achieved our aims, he was never going to mention it before we'd done it, but now he feels like, well, now I can tell you all what an absolute shit show I've been dealing with, and I'm an absolute miracle worker. Because he is. He's an absolute miracle worker, and I just still can't believe that he's our manager. It's unbelievable, and it feels like, and I know we've kind of said this before, but it feels like that. Whilst he is the perfect manager for us, I think we're the perfect club for him, and I don't think he could be happier than he is right now.
No. Oh, especially when you got John McGinn singing the Seville anthem. Should we play that? Should we play that?
Please. That was my favourite bit of content.
Here we go. Let's go. So good. So what's the story behind that again then?
There was a rambling explanation about it, wasn't there? But
something to do with so it was something to do with, I don't know if this is true, but John McGinn's granddad.
Yeah, hang on. I've got it here. It says McGinn's grandfather was president of the Scottish FA when Juan de Ramos's Sevilla won their second Europa League in Glasgow. That night in May 2007, the protagonist of this story, this is a translation, so I think they're talking about Super John there, fell madly in love with the anthem during the final against Espanyol. Such was his impression that he continued watching videos and ended up learning in his own way the lyrics of El Arabato. And very much was in his own way, wasn't it? One thing I really loved in that clip was the way Emery was just walking through, didn't realise what was going on, looked at him and just went, oh yeah, classic meatball, and just kept walking.
Yeah, it was very much in the Vic Reeves style club singing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
John McGinn's version of that.
Good shout.
I enjoyed it.
I like
what I love about
something to be said for eyes closed, drunk singing. You know,
I was just going to say, go on, Yarrick.
No. That was the end of my sentiment.
There's something to be said, but then nothing was said.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I love that in that clip. It could just be any drunk Scotsman, and that's what's amazing about John McGinn is he's obviously like super fit, professional, like genuinely elite player. You can say that about all our players now. They're all Champions League players. They've all qualified in top 4 in the toughest league in the world, so they say. And yet you see him on a night out like that, and he's just like a normal pissed guy having a lovely time, isn't he? And I think he's a really interesting character, you know. And I think there's a lot of that in our team. There's not really anyone who's got a kind of superstar type attitude. I think maybe we had concerns about that with someone like Bailey, and you know, especially with the way his dad behaves sometimes. But you see how he's grown this season, not just as a player, but as a sort of leader on the pitch and all that as well. And I think that again, that comes from the manager. You know, he's humble and he's instilled that in the players as well. John McGinn as captain is a key example of that, I think.
Yeah, and Yara, I mean, we saw that. We're not going to obviously dwell too much on the Liverpool game because this isn't a match review. It's more just shooting the shit. But
it's more of a celebration.
More of a celebration, exactly. But we did see, you know, both in terms of his play against Liverpool, but also his post-match comments, how the kind of character he is, but how important he is to the team, especially in this sort of latter stages that we've managed to get over the line.
Yeah. John McGinn has probably become like my favourite ever Villa player, I think, at this stage, because he combines, in terms of that is best, we are our best, and the football that we play where McGinn is on song is always just exhilarating because he is there driving us forward. He is just a joy to watch, and not. I think a lot of people from the outside looking in may see McGinn as a kind of hard-working midfielder, but he's actually incredibly skillful. His passing range is unbelievable. His shooting can be phenomenal. But then you throw in the personality that AJ mentions and the humour that he brings and the humility as well. The fact that he's come from St Mirren and worked his way up, and now he's part of this team that will go down in history. He's the captain of this team that will go down in history. I think he's right up there. I mean, when you asked me about my favourite ever Villa players, I missed Paul McGrath by I caught the end of his career. But Olaf Melberg was one of my favourites, but Melberg never achieved a smidge of what McGinn has achieved as Villa captain. So he's fast becoming my all-time fave.
Yeah, and obviously one of the
Olaf was sexier though. To be fair,
in a different way, more conventional.
No, in every way.
In every way.
I think even
like
McGinn would say that.
He'd be the first to say it.
If you like a big ass, then McGinn might be more your type. If you like big butts, and you could lie.
Yeah. I thought you said Didier. I thought you said Didier Garth. Then, sorry, I completely misheard what you said.
If you like a Garth, then McGinn might be your type.
And I was going to play his few words he said, but at that point we've done a few videos now. But he mentioned obviously that he brought Tyrone Mings up on stage with him at the Player Awards and mentioned that him, McGinn, Mings. Baby Jacob, as he called him, and then was reminded by Mings that Courtney as well was in the crowd.
Yeah, I forgot about Courtney.
Everyone forgets about Courtney.
Great trousers from Courtney. Did you see that the other day? And he had a nice message of saying, "Look, I know I've not really played, but I'm really proud of the lads and stuff." That was really lovely. But some lovely trousers he had on. I enjoyed those. Yeah.
So he was mentioning them coming from the Championship, and I think it's that much sweeter, isn't it? For them to be ever present through that. And I suppose that brings us on to the next point in terms of the foundations that have been laid by Dean Smith. You mentioned Dean, though, obviously the connection we had with him, but the likes of Watkins, Martinez, Cash, Douglas Luiz, these players that are Konsa, these players that we thought, will they make it? Will they not? Especially for some of them to then, completely bring their level up to that elite level, as you've mentioned, AJ, to the Champions League level and be consistent this year. We've seen flashes from all of them. Ollie Watkins has scored double figures every season, but to get to the position he's in, near the 20 goal mark and have nearly 40 goal contributions across all competitions, this is unbelievable, really. And I use that word. I was on for the Paul and Love McGrath podcast, just came on for 5 minutes yesterday. I kept using the word unbelievable because I didn't know what else to say because I was so elated. But it is unbelievable to come from 17th position, 1 point or goal difference off relegation zone to be consistent over 18 months. It's not just a flash in the pan, is it, AJ? It's consistently being good, being probably the third, fourth best team in the league over that period.
No, and we've talked about that a few times on the pod, haven't we? That especially since we came back, the whole thing with Emery is we've pretty much averaged 2 points a game for his entire tenure. Even against Liverpool, I think 6 of the starting lineup were in Gerrard's first 11 that he picked, and I think that number would have been higher if Ramsey and Mings were fit, for example. So yes, he's brought. Obviously, we've added quality in players like Torres and Diaby. Etc. But fundamentally, it's the same team. A lot of them are the same players that Smith was working with and identified. And obviously, you look at Watkins, who clearly one of arguably the best striker in the league this season. There's no way he would have come to Villa if it wasn't for his existing relationship with Dean Smith. I don't think, or that certainly played a big role in his decision to come to us. So you've absolutely got to be grateful to Smith, and you've absolutely got to recognise the extent of the turnaround. And even the beginning of this season, the Villa admin, I think it was the TikTok admin, just cropped together a thing today of all the various pundits, miserable Danny Murphy included, all predicted us to finish 8th, 9th this season, 7th.
Michael Owen didn't. Michael Owen predicted us to finish 4th.
No,
Andy Gray got the top 4 exactly right. Assuming City do go on to win the league, which is pretty much nailed on now. I think that turnaround is one, and that consistency is the other thing. And that's when people say, "Oh, you're going to fall away next season or whatever." Look, it's really hard to finish in the top 4, and we may not do that again. But I would be very surprised if we fall off significantly and we're not at least in the top 6 again next season. I think Swiss Ramble tweeted about where we are financially and how, for squad value, wages and amortization, those are all around in the 8th or 9th in the league. So, given that is a pretty linear predictor of where you end up finishing normally, to be 4th when we're actually sort of 8th or 9th in terms of those metrics, it just shows what a phenomenal coach Unai Emery is, and it is unbelievable. You're right; it's the right word to use.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I suppose even more unbelievable is the fact that we've managed to be consistent, as AJ's mentioned, and throughout this season as well. Being in the top 5 for so long and being 4th for most of the season, also get to the semi-final of a European tournament and having some tough games in that. It's not fair play to West Ham for winning it. I give them all the credit in the world, but in terms of level of opponent we've had, I think it's been a slight step up, definitely. To get to the semi-final, to have the injuries that we've had, Carl, as well. Again, no excuse culture, but we're top 4 now. We can make the excuses now. That all together combined, in terms of what's been going on in the background and giving a bit of context, it's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, to do both, to get so far in a cup, to do so well in the league, to have all the injury suspensions and issues that's been going on, it's remarkable.
Yeah, I was just going to use that word remarkable, but you stole that from me, so I'll say it's unbelievable. It's not just the number of injuries either. Like in the first game of the season, losing Mings, like our biggest leader on the pitch, like by a mile, like for the past sort of best part of a decade or whatever it is. But then we lose our sort of someone who was really looking like it was going to be our biggest creator this season. Bailey ended up being that, but no one could have predicted the season that Bailey had based on his time up until the beginning of this season. But when Deere getting injury, I thought that's another massive blow before he'd even kicked the ball. And then it was remarkable what we did then, considering that up until Christmas. Then immediately after Christmas, we lose our best midfielder, arguably, or at least sort of someone who, from a defensive point of view, is so important. We lose him, and throughout all this, we was missing Pau Torres for a while. You know how, just imagine Ollie Watkins picks up a sort of lengthy injury, even for a couple of months, would we be in this position? I mean, probably not. But would you put it past Unai Emery doing something and then Duran smashing 15 goals in? It's been incredible. I really can't believe it's happened. I never quite thought we were going to win the Conference League. I just thought it was going to be too much of a stretch. And it was clear that we were prioritising the Premier League, even though our sort of team, our lineups never suggested that. Unai made it very clear that our number one priority was the Premier League. I never thought we'd quite do it, so that's fine. But the way we dealt with it, like, I don't think we ever, after those Thursday games, we didn't used to go into the weekend game and get smashed or really, really struggle. It was just more accumulative at the end of the season. So I think doing that this season, having the midweek game and the weekend game, is going to hold us in good stead. But yeah, as you say, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, Yara, I suppose we've been so consistent. It's hard to pick out, key moments or key matches. But if you were to, think of 2 or 3 moments or matches or where the pendulum swung our way away from Spurs. I mean, unless I'm talking about Man United, they're not even in contention or a factor now, are they? But they were at one point. Is there anything that sort of pops out into your mind straight away?
Actually, what pops into my mind straight away, not so much the matches that we've won, it's the way we've responded to the matches that we've lost. It's the fact that, well, I think the stat came up today that we haven't lost 2 Premier League games in a row this season, the first time that's ever happened, I think, which itself is remarkable and says something about mentality instilled. So 9 losses this season, and we followed it up with 6 wins and 3 draws. First time we've done that, and I'd imagine it's a pretty rare thing for Premier League teams to do in general. So yeah, I mean, I actually for a season that has gone so well, there are numerous points where it could have been seriously derailed on account of a performance, like Spurs losing 4-0 to Spurs at home. The Newcastle home game was really disappointing. Even the Sheffield United one, where we could have gone top of the league. So I appreciate it's sort of counterintuitive to answer your question with all these negative moments, but it's more the fact that we followed those up with some serious some serious performances. Some of them were scraping over the line. Like, I remember just about getting over the line against Burnley not long after the Sheffield game. Found a way to win. Those can be just as important as the really high profile, impressive performances. But then there's been plenty of those as well. And you've got to look at the double over Arsenal, in particular the one at the Emirates, when you talk about Camera being out and how that could have derailed us. I mean, when Carl lists all those injury problems we've had, by all rights, we should be talking about this. We should be talking about like an 8th place finish, going, it could have been so great if so-and-so hadn't got injured, if it wasn't for this injury, if it wasn't. And under most managers, that is what we would be saying.
Well, I mean, we'd probably be challenging for the title, to be honest, if we'd had some of those players. Now, I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility, because some of those games, you just takes 2 or 3 games results. The Man United game, where the home game we're missing, the away game, sorry, we're missing Kamara. And I think, if he's on that pitch, we don't go from 2-0 up, down, lose 3-2. Pau Torres was missing for like 3 months, wasn't he, or sort of 2 months, something like that.
And you just think if Ramsey was an option off the bench more often, all of these things just in theory should combine to completely derail the season, and yet we're celebrating one of the best that we've had. But yeah, the Arsenal away one, the fact that we showed that we can cope with all those absentees, take it to the best teams in the league, Arsenal, who are going to finish on 90+ points, or who already have 90+ points, and not just beat them in their own backyard, but absolutely boss proceedings. Tielemans played the game of his life. We scored a couple of great goals. Watkins scored a delightful finish, and Limbs in the away end were some of the best I've seen. Not that I was there, but witnessing on the box, and he had that. What was it? The FIFA style camera showed a great shot of the away limbs, of which you were 4 of those limbs. And if we're going to 2 arms, 2 legs as limbs, right?
Well, that's generally that's the reason why I picked this color scheme, because I think that was the big moment where, for me, I know there's other moments obviously throughout the season, but where we looked a bit, against Brentford, obviously being 2 goals up, drawing that game 3-3, we were sort of written off after that by many, and I've seen so many tweets bookmarked and retweeted today, and by Villa fans as well, thinking our legs had gone. We were going to sort of fall away a little bit, and everyone was thinking about fifth, and looking at Dortmund and Atletico Madrid game and things like that. Thinking about coefficients and all that kind of stuff. But then to put that performance in, I think that was a key one. And at the same time, obviously, Spurs, I think, lost to Fulham or Newcastle at the time.
Yeah.
So that was a big shift. A bit like in the promotion season when we beat Sheffield Wednesday and others lost in the same day, and we suddenly found ourselves in the playoff positions. I think it's a similar kind of thing there. But obviously, there's lots of things happening. Zaniolo's goal against West Ham. The Bournemouth game, even the Chelsea draw, the Liverpool draw, the goal disallowed against Chelsea, all those things, add up.
I was going to say exactly that, and Yarrick sort of touched on it, but I think that Chelsea game, under any other manager, any other Villa team I can remember, we lose that game. Liverpool again, like we were unfortunate to be 3-1 down in that game. I thought we were the better team, but again to come back in that situation. And to keep our heads at the end, I mean, we touched on McGinn. I mean, the third goal was a great example of, he didn't look to. He was looking to how could I get this ball forward, and bursting into space, shaking off challenges, really smart forward ball into Diaby. Diaby had one of his best games. Obviously, he missed chances in the first half, but his all-round performance was one of his best games for a long time, and then got that assist. And then obviously some debate around whether Big John Duran meant it or not, but he definitely, in the slow-mo, deliberately changed his stride to move his leg towards the ball. So I think he can claim it's deliberately. Also, on Big John Duran, I think we need to campaign for a commercial tie-up with Big John's, because it just feels like a natural fit for me. Big John Duran smashing a doner kebab pizza down Big John's or Birmingham. Let's make it happen.
Big John rather than Duran Giraffe.
He ain't got a clue about Duran Duran. He's probably in a Big John, to be honest.
Wow.
So Duran don't need his help. They don't need his help.
Apparently, there was an interview on, I think, Norwegian TV with John McGinn, and he was asked about, like, what does he think about the Duran Duran stuff? And McGinn essentially says he hasn't got a clue who Duran Duran are. I'm not even convinced he knows he's in Birmingham half the time. So that was fun.
I
was just gonna say, AJ describing it as changing his stride so that he connected with the ball. That's an elaborate way of saying he kicked the ball, isn't it? So whichever part of his body it was, it's
his thigh, I think, wasn't it?
He definitely. Well, he definitely tried to connect with the ball.
Still fortunate for it to go where it went, but it wasn't like it just bounced off him. He deliberately directed it that way. But in terms of highlights, I think you've got to talk about as well the week where we absolutely battered Man City at home and should have won that 3-0 probably. And then followed that up with the performance against Arsenal, where in that game it wasn't like the away game where we were very much deserved victors. It was a bit of a streaky one, and Arsenal were all over us for most of that game. But the goal that we scored for me was our goal of the season, and was the sort of there's been a few of them, but was a brilliant example of what Emery has brought to the club. It was 20 odd passes or something. I think every outfield player touched the ball. Absolutely brilliant goal. And the reason we won that game was that goal, and it was by far the best moment of quality in the whole game. Arsenal had a lot of chances, but they didn't take them, and we took ours. And I think that week back to back, and that also speaks to, I think, Brentford, and I think
straight after that as well. Three games.
There's been a table doing the rounds, isn't there, around the interrelationship. There it is. Brilliant. Omar presenting as usual. Got it queued up. In terms of that mini league between the top four, we're top of that league, and that's remarkable, really. We obviously to finish in the top four, one of the things you've got to do is beat the teams you're expected to beat. And we've done a reasonably good job of that, although there's been a few. Brentford at home, the 2 United games, it seems mad to say you'd expect us to beat United, but the team that they've been this season and the team we've been, you would. There are some that stand out where we haven't done that. But I think the real demonstration of our quality is that league, that in the interactions with other teams in the top four, we've come out on top on that.
And what those three teams are Champions League teams. So it bodes well for what we could possibly do in Champions League next year without wanting to jump.
As it hadn't escaped our attention earlier in the WhatsApp, we should point out that 2 Unai Emery victories have denied Arsenal the title, pretty much. So yeah, let's revel in that. And
where do you sit on Yara? By the way, are you glad we've done that, or would you rather Arsenal won over Man City?
I mean, if you asked me at the start of the season, would I rather Arsenal or City won the league? I would have said Arsenal, because City winning the league is dull. But if I've learned anything this season, and I kind of already knew it, but I've really come to appreciate this season, is that Arsenal and Spurs fans are both absolutely mental. They are two of the weirdest fan bases, and last night just crystallized it perfectly, because you had Spurs fans more consumed with their hatred of Arsenal to care about qualifying for the Champions League, which I think is weird. And then to the point where Ange basically has kind of lost all respect for his own fan base. And then you've got Arsenal fans talking about how Spurs are intentionally threatened. Son has intentionally missed that one-on-one chance, because this guy from South Korea, he really cares about denying Arsenal the title. He doesn't
probably gets a massive bonus for getting in the Champions League. Oh yeah, I'll just who cares?
Yeah. They are. I mean, of course, I'm sure there are perfectly rational Arsenal and Spurs fans out there, but
I've never met them.
Have, they do have a special brand of lunacy.
Well, even so far as today, that picture of Ollie Watkins, and I bet you've got that, haven't you, Omar, at the awards, where he's clearly that's a moment of time caught on a camera where he's not celebrating with the rest of them. Arsenal fans clearly are taking that as he's sad because Arsenal aren't going to win the league. He doesn't
or he's
give
signing,
a fuck.
or he's signing for Arsenal. That's the other theory, isn't it?
Did they not see him against Arsenal? Did they not see how he celebrated that goal?
He's little.
Otherwise, he's the best actor in the world. Because he's
He must have meant to have missed that one-on-one as a la Son, but he's gone and accidentally dinked it over the keeper into the far corner.
I'm happy. I'm happier for Man City to win these titles, because hopefully at some stage they're all going to be taken off them anyway, so it won't count. It'd count if Arsenal won it, so I'm happy. Even
if they're not taken off them, there'll always be asterisk, won't they? There's always that, So fine. If it's not us, might as well be them.
Yeah, no, AJ, it's a good point you made. Coming back onto Villa, because we can spend all day talking about how shit Spurs and Arsenal fans are. And also, just quickly, how the foundations are so fragile as well. It's a shame Sam's not on to do his Ange impersonation.
Well, I was going to say about Ange, though, he spent ages going, we're not bothered about top four. And then when the Spurs fans have gone, well, we're not bothered about top four, he's furious about it. Like, well, that's what you've told him not to worry about it, Ange. So
that press conference was like he'd, his kid had just been kidnapped. It just reminded me of that kind of vibe to it, didn't it? He was sort of, the Steve Bruce meme where he's like,
yeah, well, that's what he does. That's his style. He just looks at his shoes, saying "mate" over and over again. Like, it was charming the first couple of months.
But going back to what we were saying about Unai at the top of the show, about how he genuinely is just this lovely, basically all of the narrative about Ange, breath of fresh air, brilliant, all should have been applied to Unai. Essentially, that's what they should have been saying. Look at this guy who never ever calls the referee out after a game. He never attacks his own players, his fan base, yada yada. He never plays politics. He's just really good at coaching a football team. But they don't because he's Spanish and once said good evening. So they instead he's still I don't think in any way respected to the level that he should be. But yeah, there you go.
No. Can you all just shut up a minute though? Because Omar was going to say something about a good point that I made. So I'd like to just come back to that. I'd like to just come back to that if we could.
Did you note that down and what minute I said it?
It's all in there, mate. I'm always listening.
I was just saying about, the obvious comparisons will be made with Newcastle in terms of what they did and what they've done this season. But, they've sort of recovered some form, and although I think they're losing to United now, but, they've managed to get themselves in a decent position.
Man, you were winning a game of football.
Oh, no, yeah, I think so. Chelsea winning as well. Yeah, sorry, the point I was making, Newcastle, the comparison will be made, and a lot will be made. And the pundits Andy Goldstein and etc. will be at the beginning of the season. I'm sure will be saying, "Well, Villa won't finish top 4. They'll struggle. They won't manage the games." Not realizing that we've just done that this season, and we've experienced Europe and playing in the league. Thursday, Sunday is a lot harder than playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday. I'm sure the point we made, the quality will be better. But your point, Asia, which I think is a good point, is the top 4 league. How important that is, and the fact that we're all, and Carl made the same point. They're all Champions League teams. I know Europe's different. I know European teams are different. The style is different, but there's a lot with Unai at the helm as well, who's just European specialist. And you'd expect, which is going to come on to my next point in terms of what we think we'll do in the summer. You'd expect we'll add some real quality, plus getting the likes of Mings, Buendia, Kamara back. We're in a pretty good place, I would say. Top 4, top 5 is going to be hard, but it's not out of the realms of possibility that we do it again. Definitely not.
No, I mean, even if we don't sign any other players, just getting our injured players back, that's adding 4 key players to the squad straight away. Obviously Kamara's going to take longer to come back because he's probably not going to be back till probably the midway of next season realistically before he's fit. So we are definitely going to have to get some quality in. But I think the other distinction, one of the things we've talked about again about Emery quite a bit, is his adaptability and how he's changed the way we play a little bit through the season depending on who he's got available to him. Eddie Howe has not shown he has the ability to do that. Like, Newcastle are supremely effective when they can play their high tempo, relentless press, high energy. But as soon as he's got a few key players out, like losing Richarlison, that sort of thing, not Richarlison, Joelinton, has been a massive blow on their ability to do that. And now he's getting players back, and towards the end of the season, they've had a better run. But our approach doesn't rely on that. And again, they did that great analysis on Monday Night Football, didn't they, just the other day, where we're 20th for distance run, 19th for number of high pressures, etc. That is by design in order to cope with the intensity of Thursday to Sunday. And if we've coped with that as well as we have this season, and we add a few bits of quality here and there, and we get some injured players back, we're going to have some injuries, but we'd be very unlucky to have the same amount and the sort of length and number of long-term injuries that we've had this season, next season again. I just think we're not going anywhere. And I don't think that means we're going to finish top 4 next season, because it's really hard to do. And there's a lot of teams, you look at Chelsea, they've been a bit of a joke at times this season, but again, they're on a bit of a run. Nobody thought they'd finish top 6 this season. They could well do, the way the final few results are going. They'll probably be better next season. Who knows what will happen with United if they change their manager, etc. Finishing in the top 4 is really hard. But I really don't expect us to fall away significantly. I expect us to be challenging in the top 4, 5, 6 again next season, even allowing for Champions League.
I think it's a good question from Sai in the comments, saying, is it now a big 7 or a Man U dropping out? I mean, it's interesting whether the media will continue to use this wording around a big 6, 7, whatever, and whether we're now in it or whether we'll still be considered to be plucky underdogs scrapping away where Spurs should be. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, they just made the point about the revenue gap, haven't you, before?
Yeah, and I've got quite a strong view on that, because a lot of people are like, oh, they should stop referring to the big 6. United are going to finish 7th or 8th or whatever. It's not about that. The reason they're a big 6 is that they are far and away ahead of us in terms of revenue, and that has an impact on your footballing ability as long as PSR and financial fair play are a thing. And now we're in Europe, we're going to have to be 85% wage ratio, so we're only just that, and that's going to drop over the next couple of seasons to 75. So as long as that is the situation, you can't ignore that. And all of those big 6 are in the top 10 richest football clubs in the world, and we are a million miles off that. So there's still a big 6, and we are still underdogs. and we are still gate crashing that situation. And I don't think we should pretend that because we finished fourth once, that structural finance difference has changed.
Yeah, no,
We've
it's a
got
good
to
point.
consistently punch above our weight to get into that club. And that's going to take 5-6 years minimum of being at this level. And that's really hard to do.
Yeah,
Why are
no, it's a good
Spurs in
point.
that club though? why are Spurs
Well,
up there?
to be fair to them, they've done with the stadium. It's generated so much revenue for them, especially things like the NFL deal, because obviously Spurs are the home of the NFL in the UK, concerts and things like that. They've, Daniel Levy, he's obviously penny pinched at certain times, and he's known for his negotiation tactics. Obviously, trying to bid $3 million on him for Grealish, but I think, to be fair, he's put them on a footing where they can be successful longer term. Well, I mean, whether they will or not, the foundations are fragile, as we've heard, which basically means the fans are not winners. But the Champions League will guarantee us. I think John Percy wrote an article on this: 50 million next year of additional revenue minimum, because there's 8 games. Beyond that, obviously, there's sponsorship. I'm sure the Adidas deal is now enhanced slightly a little bit through Champions League football. It brings in new players, new fans, new sponsorship deals. But you're right. You've got to be consistent, AJ. You've got to do it for at least 2-3 years, if not longer. And it's why I was so not annoyed, but just down about losing the semi-final. Because for me, I thought, and maybe still do a little bit, thinking, a trophy I'll remember in 10, 15 years' time, finishing fourth once, potentially is not going to be a massive impact for us. However, if it leads on to greater things, which I think you saw with the way the backroom staff reacted, the way the players reacted yesterday at the awards dinner, I think they know could be a monumental shift for Villa in terms of getting us onto that next level, because we've got the right people at the helm. As you've compared to Eddie Howe, unlike what they're doing, we've got people who can adapt, who've proven themselves at this level. Unai's got Villarreal to a semi-final. We've got backroom staff there who worked at Champions League clubs, and I'm sure the recruitment will be key. Already, I saw Monchi tweeting something about a picture of all the recruitment team, scouting team, starting their work for the summer already. Which again, Giara, brings me on to my next question. I suppose it's obvious we don't need to overhaul the whole squad, but what key positions do we need to be thinking about in the summer?
Well, I think someone to play alongside Luiz in Camara's absence is pretty important. I think the one thing about Camara's injury is I think Luiz's form has really dropped off quite noticeably since then, and I think if Luiz sticks around, then we want someone next to him who can bring out that form that he had under Camara, and I think he's just reliant on knowing that there's someone behind him to mop up. So that's one key position. We've spoken. I think most people have identified right back, but I mean we do have this Serbian lad, but I don't know if he's going to be in any.
Supposed to be really good, but it's hard to ask.
Yeah. I've no idea if he's going to be anyway ready, but I wouldn't have thought Morgan Rogers would have been anyway ready, and look how he's
or Duran.
So.
Yeah, true.
Or Duran, yeah. I mean that's the other thing. I think halfway through the season, I think we all would have said we need backup for Ollie. If Ollie gets injured, we're screwed. And then recently, Duran has really impressed when he's been given the minutes. He is our agent of chaos. He is our kind of I thought Darwin Núñez was going to come on and score, but it was actually our agent of chaos, not theirs. That did the business on Monday, and in his typically brilliantly chaotic way. But yeah, I mean that makes you think. Well, do we need another striker? Certainly wouldn't hurt, would it? But would that striker then go immediately to Ollie's backup role, or would it be a case of Duran being behind him? And then centre half is the other one that I think perhaps it depends a bit on Tyrone's recovery. If Mings comes back and he's fully fit and raring to go, then I don't have too many doubts about centre half, but I would have doubts about Diego Carlos being a regular starter if it came to that. Not just because he managed to miss from 0.5 yards with an XG of 99.9.
0.96, I think it was, mate. 0.96 to be fair to him, not 0.99. I thought.
It was reported as 0.99 on Sky Sports. To be fair,
I think that was my low point of the season. To be honest, I genuinely was so just because Ollie was stood behind him waiting to tap in his 20th of the season.
Yeah, he barged him out of the way.
I tell you what, he's so lucky we're not doing the heroes and villains. This week.
I think.
Carl, just quickly. How forward are you looking? Can't say my words now, but how are you looking? Can't speak.
Go on, have another go. You can do it.
Sorry,
how much are you looking forward to
the summer?
Enjoying
the transfer window.
Oh, I'm not going to pay any attention to it whatsoever. What's the point? I don't know who Unai wants. I don't know who's out there. I'd never heard of Morgan Rogers before, and he'd played against us 2 weeks previous to that. I just think and I'm not sort of being blasé about it. The reason I feel like that, I usually always kind of think, oh, wouldn't it be great if we signed him? I don't think, I think whoever Emery brings in is going to be the right person. He's going to improve whoever it is, and I'm not gonna get all downbeat because we don't sign,
Elise.
Yeah, it doesn't. We don't need to sign who the best players are now. I've full faith that Emery's going to bring in the players that he needs. He's going to improve them, and they're going to be the right players. And I think what you might find he'll do is he'll bring in players that can cover a number of positions, because I think they're the sort of players you need when you're trying to sort of cover two games a week. All the positions that Yarrow said, I agree with. A lot of people are saying we need to get a backup for Martinez. I think Olsen's more than good enough to do that. He makes some. No, I was going to say he makes some mistakes. So does Martinez. It's just Olsen's biggest fault is that he's not Martinez, but no one is. So keep Sweden's number one goalkeeper as Martinez backup if he wants to. He might want to move on, and if he does, so be it.
Yeah. Imagine if Olsen had chucked it in the net in the way Emi did in that game. Imagine the reaction to that.
I mean, I don't know. I think I would improve on Olsen myself, but that's
you would get in there, then, mate. Get your gloves on.
Get him in.
Yeah, I would.
Get him in.
All 5'3" of me as
Who are you getting, though, Omar?
Joe Gauci.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got high hopes for Joe Gauci. He's got a cool name.
Yeah.
That's all I know about him. But
AJ, would you look at Jack Grealish in the summer?
Emotionally,
I didn't ask Carl.
No, he knows it's a leading question. Emotionally, I'd love him back, but from all practical perspectives, it doesn't make any sense. He's on 350 grand a week, so we could never afford it. Even with that's all our Champions League money gone, basically. I don't see that he fits in the system that Emery's trying to play. Where would you maybe in this sort of Diaby role? I don't know.
Maybe Rodgers, Ramsey.
Yeah, maybe Rodgers kind of Ramsey type role, but he doesn't have the defensive. Even having been turned into a cog in the machine, I still think
didn't he come on yesterday, did he?
No, exactly. I still think he wouldn't. He doesn't defend in the way that Emery would want him to, so he'd have to learn that again. I'm sure he could. He's learned under Pep, but yeah, I just don't see it happening under Emery, and I think there's much better ways we could spend our money.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, no, I agree, and I look forward to the summer. I'm very similar to Carl now. I think under the likes of Lambert, Dean Smith, Gerrard, they made them. All those managers have gone in the past, Steve Bruce, etc. Even Dino. The transfer window has been such a massive thing because they've place so much emphasis on the fact that we need players to improve and all that kind of stuff. And you do need players to continue to improve. But as Carl said, we have full faith and trust in Unai. I don't think we've ever had this level of faith or trust in any other manager in my lifetime supporting Villa, where nothing's questioned, and whatever they do, and Monchi included in that, and the team behind the scenes as well, that we have full faith that they know which players to get, which Spanish player to plug the gap. I'm sure it will be the case in the summer, and I'll just look forward to see. I'm more actually looking forward to seeing us play again in the new season with players back, rather than worrying too much about the rumour mill and transfers and things like that, which is normally the most exciting part of the season for Villa fans, because nothing happens during the season. So now we can actually enjoy the season. So yeah, in the summer, obviously we'll have pods and stuff, maybe not as often, but we'll talk about players we sign and things going on, things like the season ticket price, which I think is actually pretty decent. I think 5%. Things going off the pitch, I'm sure there'll be plenty of things happening. New kit, Adidas, all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that. So let's just wrap up quickly then, given the time. AJ, Carl, Yarrow, just give us one or two words that sums up how you feel about finishing in the Champions League.
Well, I'll give you some time to think of some words that aren't
remarkable,
too remarkable or unbelievable.
Remarkable, unbelievable.
I'm going for remarkable and unbelievable. Although they're not feeling words, are they? They're just
that's fine. Go.
More of a description.
AJ. Emotional. I'm going to say emotional. I feel, especially this morning, go through all the videos and seeing the players and all of that. Emotional and proud. Those are my two.
All right.
I'm going to go with bloody relieved, just on account of being in that top four all season. I would have actually been really gutted if it had slipped at the end, especially to this crappy Spurs outfit. So, yeah, relieved, bloody relieved is what I'm going to go for.
Can I just say what we haven't mentioned is that why were you relieved? I told you 5 weeks ago that Spurs were done.
Oh, I didn't cue it up. That's one thing I didn't get. That's what I was meant to get. Spurs are done.
I told everyone. Didn't need to worry about it. And I definitely wasn't worried at any stage whatsoever.
Yeah.
Good. Right, boys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone for watching. It's been an absolute blast.
It's been a good one.
Talking to you and celebrating. I'm gonna see us off with the Champions League music.
Oh, what we need, because we always say up the Villa at the end. You should have had the clip of Unai giving it the up the Villa to the whole end.
Oh yeah, up the Villa.
This should have been done in pre-production, though. To be fair.
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that before. It's my fault. Sorry, Omar.
Things to improve on.
Yeah. Notes for next season.
Thank you. Please subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Post notifications. I don't know what any of that means, but do it. And we'll be back, I'm sure. Probably post Crystal Palace match.
Oh, that'll be a fun one. Up the Villa!
Up the Villa!